G'day, it's Mark from Pep Talk Australia here. Hi, it's Mark from Failurist. And this is Pivot. G'day, it's Mark from Failurist here. This is Pivot. And what pivoting is about is making sure that you're taking the learnings from any failure and then applying it to something new. So for me, I started off at the beginning of last year with Pep Talk Australia. It failed abysmally, and I took the learnings from that and put it into Failurist. And here we are now. So it's basically a PSA to everybody in relation to what failure is about and what that critical aspect of learning from failure looks like.
Fun facts.
So fun fact, did you actually know the behemoth that we're currently on, known as YouTube, actually started off as a dating site and it failed abysmally. But it wasn't a total failure because what they did is they took the aspect of, people are uploading their profiles, and then the mechanics and all the infrastructure was there, and all they had to do was pivot it to what we know as YouTube today. And, like I'm using it now, it's a massive success, but it was born out of failure. But the people that started it didn't view it as such. They viewed it as, okay, we failed at this, but what can we take from that? What learnings can we take and apply it to something new? And ergo, here I am now talking to you through this medium. So my story with pivoting is for some time, for the last couple of years, I've actually worked out that failure was just an event. And when that light bulb moment hit, it wasn't just about failure being an event. It was about being a part of the learning cycle and having to take lessons from that. In order to take lessons from failure, you actually pivot into something different. And if you take a look at this video catalog, you'll see that the first video I've actually got on it was from Pep Talk Australia, which was about New Year's resolutions. So that would have been January 1st, 2025. And that was what this business entity was called back then, Pep Talk Australia. And it was about when people need a lift, having a chat to them and giving them my life experience and how I see positivity in the darkness that can be life. And the more I went down the Pep Talk Australia rabbit hole, the more I realized there wasn't really an appetite for that service. So that made me pivot into Failurist and change the product offering and just pivoting to something that aligned better with my purpose. So without Pep Talk Australia, there is no Failurist. And now the real question is, will Failurist be Failurist in 3 years' time, in 6 months' time, or will it be something else? It's no, it's like Michael Scott Paper Company. There'll be no shortage of names, but I don't think so. I don't know. Failurist actually fits me like a glove, in that it feels right. It feels like it aligns with the story in my in sort of my journey. So, but if the numbers are not there, if it doesn't align with success, because at the end of the day, what I would like for once in my life is to be successful at a venture. I'm happy to be patient and to take the learnings each week as we go through this journey. But you can never discount the fact that, it might be that I have to pivot again into something else. And that's part of the learning. That's part of what failure is. Failure is learning, taking the learnings from, and then pivoting into something else. I mean, I've got a degree in sport management. I currently work in tertiary education using nothing or very little in what I learned in those 6 years at university, which is a story for another day. I've been the taxman, I've been the bardsmith, I've tried my hand at starting fan clubs. And in my personal life, I've worked on pivoting into routines, Up until recently, my routine was exercising 15 minutes a day every day. And then I damaged my wrist, and a lot of what I do exercise wise is punching bag and weights. So I had to pivot again. I had to take those learnings and then pivot into walking because that's all I could do. Um, and there are some areas in life where I'm still taking the L. Um, but I'm gonna put my gloves up. I'm gonna battle my demons, and when the time is right, I'll get that success in those avenues. But for now, I'll fail, take the lessons, and pivot, and continue to pivot and pivot again until I get my success. So you got this far, okay, and it's all about failure feels terrible, but there are so many good lessons you can take from it. And if you're learning from it, you just need to pivot. You just need to take those lessons and then apply it to something new. If it feels like it's your destiny, like failure feels like to me, then you'll stick it out. Then you know that you have to stick it out. But if it's something where it's not quite aligning, then take the lessons and then apply it, or skew it to something a little bit different, but it has the same sort of soul of it, and you'll get success, just not in the way you think, and maybe not in the time frame you think. Okay, and I want to leave you with this famous quote from Michael Scott from The Office. I remember in high school, my math teacher told me I was going to flunk out. And you know what I did? The very next day, I went out and scored more goals than anyone else in the history of the hockey team. That is gold. That wasn't the quote. The history of the hockey team was the end of the quote, but it's gold. Like, that is a great quote. Anyway, if this is the last time I speak to you, just remember, um, you're going to fail, but take those learnings, okay, and apply it to something new. Look at it in a different way, and I guarantee you that you will be successful eventually. And take care of yourself, and au revoir.